Welcome to Java and Journeys with Jillian, going live for Walk and Talk Wednesday. If you're new here to this channel, what's up? Hey, how are you doing? My name is Jillian, and I am so thrilled to have you here. And we are live streaming from Disney's Magic Kingdom. So you can see Cinderella's castle here in the background. And we are just going to walk and talk it out. What is today's topic? So we are going to focus on the live action remake of Snow White that just came out recently and totally bombed at the box office. We're going to get into maybe the reasons why. What are your thoughts? And just in general, not even just about Snow White, but what do you think about Disney remakes? Are they overrated? Are you an avid supporter of all things Disney, including the films? And do you feel like they can do no wrong? Now, before we get in, we're going to allow for more folks to join the stream. So hello, if you're just joining us, and let me show you all a little bit of the view of Magic Kingdom while we get ready to get into this discussion. So you'll see right here, it's pretty warm right now. It's been in the 80s for most of the day, but y'all, I'm so excited. It's going to cool down. It's going to get into the 60s, which I cannot wait. And we have a nice little crowd going. There are still some families, some schools out on spring break, vacationing right now. And there was a parade, so it's cleared out a little bit toward this front area. We're basically going to start this walk and talk right from the corner of the castle. I should say we're adjacent from the castle, and we're going to make our way first through Adventureland and kind of loop our way around. So let's go ahead and get started. And if you are just joining this channel, hi, welcome. We're going to get into our topic and focus on Disney remakes, y'all. So I'm going to be upfront. I'm not going to hold you. I have not seen Snow White. And I'm not talking about the original animated Snow White. I'm talking about the live action remake. And I know you're like, I know this heifer didn't just say that we're going to talk about Snow White and she has not even seen it. Let me tell you why I want to talk about it. So I don't know if there are just a lot of haters or people really have valid reasons for not liking the new Snow White with Rachel Zegler, Gal Gadot, Andrew Burnap. I don't know. I've just heard mostly negative things about it. But again, we all know how people love to have their Twitter fingers and talk a lot of smack. I also was just reading before I joined this chat that a lot of people have been actually giving it 1-star reviews on like Rotten Tomatoes and just like bombing it, but not giving an explanation. Let me just start off before I get into more the topic of conversation. No, don't do that. Don't be that person. Like, I cannot stand people that rate and review things, but they have no rationale for their rating. They just will rate something 1 star and you're like, okay, girl, why? Why did you give this 1 star? Was it subpar? Was it like not a great experience? And so when it comes to movie, I'm like, okay, so you're giving it 1 star, but why, Sway? Why? So from my perspective, I think what really affected the opening weekend for Snow White is just a lot of the things that plagued it in terms of some of the politics around it. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the live stream, y'all. Yes, so this is Jillian here. If you're just joining the live stream, hi, April. How, Alfonso? This is Java and Journeys with Jillian. Welcome in. We're just about to get started with our topic. And I was just saying, along the lines of Snow White and a lot of people not liking the remake, it bombed. It completely did not do as well in the box office as they had hoped for the amount of money that they spent. I'm like trying to figure out what's all the reasons, right? And I think that one of the things that could have affected the film from the start is a lot to do with the politics around it. Now, you all know I don't typically get very political here on this channel, but sometimes politics are just the way of life here, especially if you're in the US. We're going through a very difficult time, at least from my perspective, right? I guess it depends on what your affiliation is and what your belief is. For me, girl, the US is struggling. Oh, Jimbrang, do you believe that it is trash? Because I would love to hear why. Like, why do you think it's trash? I was just saying at the beginning, I actually haven't seen it, but the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I'm curious to get other people's perspectives about like, what is it that you don't like about it, right? Oh, I am so sorry, Luke makes it lit. If it's glitching a little bit, it's probably just the reception from where I'm walking. So hopefully it shows up a little bit clearer. So just be patient. Okay, that's fair. Bad casting and writing, direction and music. Hey, that's totally fair. I do know that some folks did have big issues with the casting, as well as some of the acting. And I think for me, from what I had heard about it and what I read, there seemed to also just be a difference in what exactly is the vision for this movie. So my perspective when it comes to the Disney remakes is obviously they're trying to modernize a lot of our classic Disney films, right, for today's modern audience. They want to bring things up to speed. They want to make sure that like kids today feel like they can connect to these films. And I think there's something to be said that yes, some of the Disney films maybe have like bad tropes. And I certainly think there's always room to evolve things, right? So let me just get that out of the way. I have no problem with folks evolving. Oh yeah, nuking the promotions, but the movie alone is not good. Disregard the original. Yeah, I had heard that, Doomerang, that it is very much like different from the original. And that's something that I was talking to my co-producer, aka husband, about this. And y'all, just taking a brief pause. For those of y'all that are not familiar with Magic Kingdom, we're actually passing by Pirates of the Caribbean, which is one of my faves. Shout out in the comments if you love Pirates of the Caribbean, and how appropriate because we're talking about live action remakes. Drop down in the comments if you have written Pirates of the Caribbean, if it's one of your Disney favorites, and even if you haven't, have you seen the movies and what do you think of Pirates of the Caribbean? But yeah, like I appreciate the opinions around, you know, if you truly felt like the acting wasn't good and like the casting differences. Like I think I was reading somewhere that Gal Gadot, in some of the parts, especially like I guess there was a couple of songs that she sang that it just didn't feel like it was connecting and landing right. And I think that that's totally fair, right? And I think going back, I wonder sometimes with the classics, like when is it okay to take creative license to change the movies that we know them as? And for those of you all, like I'm a millennial at heart, so I grew up with all of the Disney films, right? And I'm gonna be real, I honestly have not really been interested in a lot of the live action remakes. And I think it's because in my head, I'm like, I know the story. And y'all know time is money and money is time. And I just don't, I'm like, I don't have time. So I don't mind seeing like a live action Disney film, but I want it to be a story that I'm completely unfamiliar with. So Pirates, for example, like, I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean, been on the ride before, but the way that they adapted the ride to the film, I'm like, it was chef's kiss, especially the first one, right? The first one was, to me, the best one. Pirates is good, even with Sparrow being chaotic neutral. Yeah. I mean, I think it was quite hilarious. I appreciate your feedback here, Doomerang, and engaging. And y'all, like, let me know, are you into the Disney remakes? What are some of your live action favorites? And hey, even if you are a fan of Snow White, like, it's all love here, right? Like, we're not going to be rude in the comments or anything like that. Like, I really want to engage in this conversation about what you think. And this is like another example. So here we have Tiana's Bayou Adventure, also another favorite, and of mine at least. And like when Princess and the Frog came out, I was like super stoked, though that's not a live action. It was full Disney animated film. But if they were to, let's just say, turn Princess and the Frog into a live action, I would see it to support my people because I'm all about supporting Black women. But I also don't know, honestly, that I would prioritize it because I'm like, I know the story. And so for me, it probably wouldn't be a priority. To be honest with you all, the last Disney remake, live action remake I saw was Maleficent, and that was fantastic, but that was so many years ago. And that was even, it stayed, I think, pretty true to the classic with like that slight twist at the end. But overall, it was fairly consistent, in my opinion. But that's just me. And I think, like, from what I heard with some people's perspectives and feelings on Snow White was like either they didn't like the casting for various reasons, right? Like, let's be real, let's keep it 100. Either some people felt like maybe the casting wasn't the right fit, or there were some people that had very traditional views of what Snow White should look like. Again, y'all, I'm a woman of color. I'm always going to be for evolving Disney films, having more people of color featured, because people want to see themselves reflected in these films and anything that we watch and anything that we do. So I'm always going to support evolving films to make people feel like they have a connection, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Am I a rope dropper or a park closer? Doomerang, that's a great question. I am more of a park closer. Your girl is not a rope dropper. And I'll tell you why. Let me flip around. So I am not a rope dropper because your girl is not getting up early. I am not a super early morning person. And I also don't like the feeling of having to rush out here and kind of like power walk / jog to the first attraction. I am so beyond that. I'm like, I couldn't do it. What about you? Are you a rope dropper or are you a park closer? So I prefer to come out in the evenings, and especially because this is not my full-time job, unfortunately. I would love to be a full-time content creator, so support your girl, like and subscribe, share my videos. I have so many, and especially if you're a Disney lover, a lot of my videos are filmed somewhere on Disney property because Disney is basically in my backyard in terms of where my house is and my proximity to Disney. I actually live closest to Animal Kingdom. So for me, it feels natural just to come out here, and why not? I mean, like, look at these views. Like, why not like spend your evening after work coming out here? And this is why I feel like for me, I am more of a park closer because I love the evenings in Florida. It tends to start cooling off a little bit. And right now, especially with us not being quite into summer just yet, the weather is so nice. Like, it cools off. It kind of reminds me of my time in Southern California. And things would just cool off. And it's just lovely. Like, the winters in Florida are lovely. Early spring, lovely. I like the humidity. I am not looking forward to another Florida summer. Your girl cannot do excessive heat or humidity, but I definitely am a park closer. Drop down in the comments, like, you all let me know, like, do you feel like you're more of someone that's an early riser? Do you prefer to go out in the evenings? And if you are a big Disney head, do you find yourself trying to get here first thing in the morning or later in the day? I think for me, just mostly because of work, but even on the weekends, I love to sleep in, you know, get some rest and then come out here later. But this, like, you can't beat sunset here at Disney as we're passing through Frontierland. Quite lovely. And also, just so some of you all know, and I'll show you the view here. So Tom Sawyer's Island is going to be closing very soon because they're basically going to take all of this that you see in front of me and they're going to turn it into Cars Land. So it's going to be so bizarre to see all of this shut down because this is gorgeous. And especially when you're on the ferry boat and you're taking that turn around, like, I am going to miss this. And it really gives me Disneyland vibes, honestly. And seeing like the Mark Twain, y'all, and I love Disneyland. I'm going to be real with y'all, and that's maybe some bias on my end. Again, having lived in Southern California for a couple of years, I way prefer Disneyland over Disney World any day of the week. But my favorite Disney World park is Epcot. 9 times out of 10, it's Epcot all day, every day. I think I'm probably one of the few people that is like obsessed, where if someone were to ask me, where should I go? I'm going to say, what do you want to do? Like, what do you like to do? And for me, I like the feel of being in a different country. And especially like in this economy, I'm like, your girl's on a little bit of a budget. So I'm like, this is the closest to France or to Japan or Morocco that I'm going to get. So it's just fun to live in a fantasy. But over off in the distance, you'll see Haunted Mansion, which is one of my faves. But this view, you cannot beat it in the evening. And hello, for those of you all that are just joining the channel, thank you for joining me for Walking Talk Wednesday. And one of the topics is I'm taking you all along Magic Kingdoms. We're talking about the remakes. What up, Whitney? Yes. Whitney is my sister, y'all. She and I are the same. We're not about that life of getting up early and trying to come out here in the morning unless there's a very specific reason. But part of what we're talking about are the Disney remakes. And if you all have a particular Disney remake that you love, drop down in the comments and say, but if you're not a fan of them, then also shout out, let me know. One of the things that I think for me, I've always just been wondering is how far away like, should Disney evolve their classics, right? Because there is something to, and I think one of the things that they have tried to change with these remakes is how, you know, the princess or the female heroine, how she is viewed and how she's depicted. And in a lot of debates that I've seen, there's some people who are like, well, is it wrong if a girl wants to be saved? If a woman wants to be saved? It's a classic trope, right? The princess getting saved by the prince. And honestly, I think that that has its place, right? There is certainly a fantasy around that. And I don't really see a problem with a princess being saved by a prince, but I also think sometimes that trope can get played out, and it's nice to just see something refreshing. So I think that both can be true. Someone can be saved and get the help that they need. That doesn't make them helpless, right? Like, we all need help sometimes. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with evolving it. I just think it has to make sense, y'all. It has to make sense. And one of the criticisms I heard about Snow White was that it felt like they were just trying to do too much and it lacked consistent, cohesive vision, right? And especially the CGI. I heard a lot of people complain about the CGI with the dwarfs. And again, I haven't seen Snow White. I don't know that I'm going to see it, and not because of the criticisms of it, but just because, like your girl was saying, I already know the story of Snow White. I'd rather watch something else that's completely original and something different. But that also leads me to my other question. Y'all, is Disney getting lazy? Are they phoning it in when it comes to their films? Like, should they keep investing millions and millions of dollars on remakes, or should they really focus on original content? And I think, personally, it would be helpful if they kept focusing on original content. Like, I loved when they came out with Princess and the Frog. I thought that was such a great animated film. And, you know, I'm all about a Black princess all day, every day. And so, you know, for me, I'm like, come on, Disney, like, give us something original. That's what I honestly feel at the end of the day. And also, let's go into another subject of, like, the movies in general. Are you all movie goers here? Like, do you still like going to the movies, getting your little popcorn? Is that still your thing? And as I'm talking, I just want to let you all know we are passing through Fantasyland. And of course, you have Peter Pan over here, which always has the craziest line and queue. It's super fun. And we have across the way, It's a Small World. And the carousel is straight ahead. And I love Fantasyland. I think this is like one of my favorite parts of Magic Kingdom because, again, why not? Like, we all love to live in a little fantasy, a storybook fantasy. But going back to my question, y'all, I'm done with the theaters. I am done. Like, I cannot with movie theaters anymore, especially since getting out of the pandemic. Your girl is over it. I'm like, people are gross. People are nasty. They leave their stuff everywhere, popcorn everywhere. And yes, there's something to be said around, well, did they clean the theater? Yes. Yes, Marcus. There are so many people here that's just insane. And I have to say, before I get back into my theater rant, sometimes I ask God why. Why do I decide to do live streams? My very first live stream, and I did not plan this at all. I just showed up on a Saturday and I just wanted to test it out. What a way to test a live stream, y'all. I don't know what I was thinking with that. Your girl was on the struggle bus. But people are literally everywhere. But yes, like the movie theater, I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. And I think for me, it's so expensive. You show up and you have to deal with, like, sometimes rude people. Like, you would think with how much the movie going experience is, that people would be a little bit more chill, you know what I mean? And they want to come in, like, why would you pay, let's just say $20 to go see a feature film only to be on your phone the whole time at the theater, or to be talking out loud and just being, like, flat out rude, right? Like, again, drop down in the comments if you're a movie theater person. I can't do it. I can't do it. And the last movie that I actually saw at the movie theater was Wicked. Wicked was so good. Drop down in the comments if you're a Wicked fan. But even then, like I went to a quote unquote luxury movie theater. Y'all, it wasn't luxury. It was not luxury. It was like a Cineplex or something. And like it just was a fail. Because it was like, oh, this is a luxury experience, da-da-da. Bro, there was nothing luxury about it. Like it was fine. I just wouldn't have advertised it as a luxury theater. And I was just like, yeah, we're done. And let me show you all Seven Dwarfs Mine Train that you can see a little bit over here. This is the part of the ride. This one is another fun one, but always has like a crazy, crazy wait. No, absolutely, Marcus. There are like, you just have to figure it out. There are some signs throughout the park, but oftentimes you're just kind of like walking around. They have like really great guides and maps at the beginning so that way you know where you're going. But yeah, I mean, you just kind of have to feel it out. And your girl also does not have a sense of direction to save her life. So I just kind of like, when I'm not with my co-producer, who is like the Disney expert and who knows his way around and can tell you in his sleep where to go to get to what ride and what direction. I am someone where I'm like, don't ask me because you will end up somehow from Magic Kingdom to Epcot. And you're like, how did we get here? And I'm like, that's a great question. I have no idea. That's how bad my sense of direction is. But yeah, I think like, and then one time before I went to go see Black Panther 2 at the movie theater, and that also kind of solidified it for me. I was in the theater with like a bunch of unruly teenagers. Look at me showing my age. But they were being mad disrespectful. Like they were just like goofing off. And I'm like, again, why would you pay money to go see a movie and not pay attention to the movie? It is beyond me. Y'all, we're passing my Little Mermaid right here. Beautiful on the outside. Whoops, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, the maps I think are pretty helpful. And I will say, in terms of like, you have to be careful, like me running into people. You have to be careful when you're walking around here. Like the cast members definitely, I mean, they see you running, they're gonna like chastise you a little bit. But certainly, especially a rope drop, people are like making a beeline. So most of the time, you know, it's just best to walk insanely fast or power walk. But yeah, and we're going into Storybook Circus right now. We're going to continue to make our way around. But yeah, the kids were so unruly. And y'all, it got to so bad to where I was just like, I'm out. Like, your girl's out. So I went, actually, like, instead of going off, because I'm like, I have too much to lose. I can't be getting into fights with kids at the movie theater. I went and I just asked someone for up, and I'm like, listen, you can go in and see it for yourself. They're just goofing off. And they went in, and they, I think, had the kids leave. But then they let them back in, y'all. They let them back in. And we're going to walk through Storybook Circus. Once they let them back in, they were still doing the same disruptive behavior. So I got so mad that, like, at the end of the full theater experience, once, you know, we all cleared out, I was like, yo, why are y'all acting like this? And they just kind of stared at me, and I'm like, I'm just curious, why? Y'all, here's Dumbo, a classic. Yes, Marcus, it is like 100% a power walk. But yeah, I was fuming, and I was just like, I'm done, because why pay $20-30 just to go see the movie? That's not even concessions, that's not anything else. And only to just be upset basically at the end of the day, either because the film isn't good and you spent all that money, or because the people around you don't know how to act like they've had some home training. So I'm just like, I phoned it in. So I saw Wicked. Wicked was great. But again, the theater itself wasn't that great. And I was just like, yeah, your girl was done. It's a wrap. It's an absolute wrap. So I think the only way I will go to a theater now to see something is there really needs to be a compelling reason. Like, I need to be BFF with the actor that's featured in that film. It needs to have like some sort of something compelling, special, and unique to draw me out there. Okay, hopefully I do not get wet over here. But I'm just making a loop around Storybook Circus. We're going to come back out, continue our walk. Y'all, we've been at this for almost 30 minutes. So if you are actually walking and getting some exercise and getting your little fitness in, we're getting it. We're putting in that work. Yeah, they should sell drinks. It's so true, Marcus. Like, at this point, I'm like, that's the only way you're going to see me give the movie theater any of my money. They're going to have to be on a corner over here, and your girl is going to have to just be interested enough to be like, I'm thirsty, I'm hot. Let me go ahead and pay a little $1 to get a drink. But nowadays, where can you get a drink for $1? But yeah, so like, I am just not, y'all, the theater, I'm not cut for it. I'm not cut for it. It's all good though. So I would say, if you have seen Snow White, and we were having a really good discussion about it a little bit earlier in the conversation, let me know, do you plan on seeing Snow White? If not, why? Like I said, I may try to catch it when it gets to Disney Plus, and considering how bad it did, unless it trends upward, because I also was reading that Mufasa, it was the same thing where it actually didn't do well its opening weekend, but it improved so much that it ended up becoming better and making the money to justify the cost that they spent. I get the impression that Snow White is not on that same trajectory. So we'll see what happens. But for me, going back, like, I'm okay. I know some people's point of contention is with some of the characters and the ethnicity of some of the characters, which I think is kind of silly, because I'm like, this is a story. It is fiction. Like, does Snow White have to be white? No. Like, because Snow White describes her like snow, like her character. I mean, yes, in the animated film, it was like her skin color as well as her character. But I'm like, it can be about just her being pure at heart, like pure as snow. So I'm like, again, I don't mind that, because I think there's something for everyone. And it's not like you can't still watch the animated films if you really want that sense of nostalgia. But what I do have a problem with is when you're doing too much and you're trying to evolve the films to the point that they just lack good cohesiveness in the storytelling, that it doesn't make sense in terms of the animation or the graphics or special effects that you have, or even the costuming. Like Andrew, who plays Jonathan, like, you have Rachel Ziegler, Snow White, who literally is dressed as Snow White, giving princess vibes, serving us princess energy, mixed with Andrew's character, Jonathan, who, I mean, he's more like emblematic of like a Robin Hood, but like, bro was in basically like a hoodie. And I was just like, like, I don't know, like, it wasn't giving consistency with the fantasy. And I'm like, are we doing a fantasy film or what? Like, what are we doing, Disney? So, no, we are passing by Speedway and we're getting into Tomorrowland up ahead. But yeah, so I don't know that I am going to check out Snow White. I think I just have to have more time on my hands, not just to check out Snow White, but to check out all the live action remakes. I know that there was a big brouhaha, of course, when Little Mermaid came out, because like, oh, Ariel's black, and I'm like, Ariel's a fish. Like, that doesn't take away from the story. And I'm like, Halle can sing. Halle Bailey has the chops. And I remember when I saw the trailer for the live action remake of Little Mermaid, and I literally was almost brought to tears. Yeah. I mean, my ice cream people, listen, they're trying to sell. They're trying to make a sale over here. So they are certainly moving and shaking around and trying to position themselves in the right area. Because you all see how busy it is. It is super crowded back over in Tomorrowland. And we have the People Mover at the top, which, if you're unfamiliar with the People Mover, what is great about it is that it literally moves you, right? So you get on it, it takes you a little, like, on a tour around Tomorrowland. And it's really nice to, I think, use that ride as an alternative if you're here on a hot day, especially you just need a break. But you see the People Mover in front of us, and it's a fun one, especially just to have a seat after you've been at the park all day. But yeah, so if you all are theater heads, if we have some people that still have faith in the movies, and if you're here in this chat and you're like, girl, I love the movies, because there is something about having like your popcorn. I love having my popcorn and my frozen Coke. Are Are you going to see, is there like something coming out this year that you're interested in? I don't even know that there's anything off the top of my head. Wicked was like the biggest thing, and Wicked technically came out last year. So I don't know if this year there's something that I'm super excited about that like I want to see. I just love being in the comfort of my home, watching a movie. Bro, I will make my own popcorn. I may not have the equipment to make a frozen Coke, but your girl doesn't need for the Coke to be frozen. We're going to be bougie and grab a poppy, okay? So we're going to get our complete bougie vibes on and chill. So if there is a movie that you're interested in seeing this year, if you haven't given up, we've talked about Snow White, if you still have faith in the Disney remakes, I still have a sense of trepidation for them overall because sometimes of the lack of like cohesive vision. But oh my gosh, yeah, electric scooters. Let me tell you something, Marcus. I don't think, knowing Disney, they will not ever allow electric scooters. My sister and I would joke around like saying that, I mean, heck, we would love to just bring a collapsible bench, or not a bench, but you know, a little seat in just to sit while you're waiting in long lines. Now, this is before we were season pass holders and we were doing like what we talked about, the rope dropping and all of that. And we're like, shoot, we wish we could have like a little seat that we can bring in here. They will not even allow you to do that. And those are like those little like collapsible ones that you could probably like attach to your backpack that in theory wouldn't take up a lot of space. If they're not even allowing you to like have a little, bring your own little seat in, they are not going to ever allow a scooter. But let me tell you something. I would be all for it if they created like scooter lanes and maybe created scooters that went at a certain speed and you could do that. Can you imagine how fast you can get around Magic Kingdom or any Disney park or property if they allowed that? Oh, that would be the best. That would be a hell of a solution. But you see how crowded it is. They will never allow something like that. But one can dream if they could create like a pathway, right? And, you know, Disney's always looking to collect your coins one way or another. And when you are tired and you've been walking around this park all day and you were the person that did the rope drop, oh my goodness, like a scooter would be heaven to get around. And y'all, we are actually back out in front of Cinderella's castle where we started our journey originally. And y'all see these crowds? Y'all, people are lining up for the fireworks. The fireworks, what? Like right now, it is 7:33 Eastern Standard Time. If I'm not mistaken, the fireworks is not for at least another hour, I think. I think it's either 8:39. And y'all see the people that are lined up, like just waiting because they want to get that primary viewing position just for the fireworks. Like, I can't. Oh yeah, like I would say it depends on the quality of shoes you're coming in here with, but that's such a good thing that you bring up, Marcus, because I would say my advice is, my pro tip, do not purchase new shoes to wear to Disney without breaking them in. Break your shoes in first to make sure that you're not going to get any blisters, to make sure that your feet's not going to be sore. And also, you don't need to like buy the most expensive thing on the market to keep your feet comfortable. Just get something with good cushion, something that's not going to hurt your feet, and something that you can actually walk around all day, like for hours. Because if you catch yourself, like let's just say, buying new shoes and wearing them first day, I guarantee you're probably going to have sore feet. And like, we don't have time for all that, especially when you are with your family and you're trying to like jog or power walk your way from attraction to attraction because you're trying to like getting, you know, the lines, so you're not having to wait and cut in front of those long wait times. Like, don't play yourself. So take it from Java and Journeys with Jillian. If you don't take anything away from this conversation, note that you see what these crowds are like, right? Don't play yourself. Wear some comfortable shoes. And if you are someone that's used to sitting all day, try to get some good walks in before you come out here, because you will walk miles. You will be clearing miles. And then after your whole Disney experience, if you feel like you've worn your shoes down, which maybe it is quite a possibility because you're going to be doing a lot of walking, you may want to then invest in some new shoes. But y'all, we have literally made our loop. If you did some walking with me, like, you know, I was telling you about you clocking the miles, we literally have walked 1.5 miles in 30 minutes. Y'all, we have gotten our exercise in. Thank you for joining me. I am so grateful for those of you all that hopped on, those of you all that were engaging, that you're checking out Walk and Talk Wednesday. And I'll tell you, with this being I think this is my 4th live stream. I absolutely love these. It's such a great way if you're on the East Coast in the US to end your day, or if you're on the West Coast, you're like starting to wrap up your day. And if you just want to join in the chat and engage, you don't have to don your walking shoes on. Grab yourself a beverage and join in the conversation and just enjoy the view. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But I am so grateful to you all. And like I said, Walk and Talk Wednesdays, barring something going on, we're always going to come out here. Your girl, Java and Journeys with Jillian, will always be out every Wednesday. We're going to pick a Disney location every week, a hot topic. So if there's a topic that you want to talk about, you know me, like I try to, be inclusive. Drop down in the comments. Feel free to send me a message. Let me know if you have some topics that you want to discuss. And based upon that topic, I'll see if that's something that we could put on the list. But typically, we just rotate and we just focus on the things that are going on in the world and have a good kiki and have a good time in the comments, just interacting and having good conversation. It's okay. We don't have to always agree to everything, right? It's good to have some healthy disagreement as long as you don't get crazy in my chat, okay? As long as you keep it civil. We can disagree as long as you're keeping it civil, right? Don't play yourself. So with that being said, thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this Walk and Talk Wednesday where we talked about Disney remakes and Snow White. I'll catch you at the next Walk and Talk. Have a good one.